I've been running a software consultancy for the past 3 years, and there are a couple things that I think every CEO should absolutely know about tech in 2025. First thing is on AI and GPT is you should absolutely be using it as much as possible in your company. In general, your team should be using it. You can create custom versions of GPT. Now, I think GPT sometimes can actually be really useless. Like in software development, sometimes it cannot uncover really specific bugs. When it writes content, sometimes it really writes the wrong type of content, like it doesn't get tone right, it loses your personality. There are all kinds of things wrong with it. But you can build custom versions of GPT where basically you train it to, you can build a version and you tell it, listen, you're going to be my copy editor or something. And you can tell it how you want to act and think, and you can input certain documents that you can make a custom AI just with documents that you give it so that it doesn't make anything up. Then you can make a company wiki or something. These are all things that you can do. And if you're not doing it, like, you're leaving money on the table because your team can be saving hours a week by being able to have a resource that it can go to with these kinds of questions very, very quickly and get them answered. And if you think about like the way that this compounds, like right now today, maybe it feels like, oh, it's a hassle to set this thing up, but it compounds over time, and that's the value. Like, you can also build simple workflows with GPT, right? You can attach Zapier to it and make and put a couple automations together, and you can, for example, collecting data on the transactions through your bank accounts or emails, you can have GPT reply to those. Like, these kinds of automations you can do and build out relatively easily. You can do it yourself. You can hire somebody to do it. If you don't know what to do, you can hire somebody, a consultant, right? We actually do free tech workshops, so we don't even charge for that part, but you can figure out how to apply it to your company and then just have somebody else execute on it, but it can save you massive amounts of time. I would say the second part of this is, okay, like AI, we all know it's a big craze, great, use it more in your company, figure out how. But the second thing is technology is a lot more about optimization today, not just about automation. I think a lot of people know this conceptually, but they don't know how far they can take this. And what I mean by that is, if you lack visibility, you're leaving money on the table because you don't know how efficient you could be. And so what I mean by that is, like, for one client, for example, right now, one of the things we're doing is we are helping them find the cost per conversion of different channels and the user journey in each channel. So for example, where does the user drop off when they come through Snapchat versus Instagram versus LinkedIn versus YouTube, whatever it is? You're going to be able to understand which channels are more profitable and where can you drive lower cost per conversion. At a basic level, people can just look at the spending and look at the dollars in and tell you kind of the cost of acquisition versus the actual profit per customer. But if you're able to look at the customer journey, you might be able to understand that messaging on certain platforms need to change. And like, optimizing that can significantly reduce your costs per conversion on the different channels. And keeping that low is going to let you scale way more. For every dollar that you put in, you're going to get more out. And so that cash printing machine becomes a lot more efficient. And so you can, with the dollars that it spits out, you can put it back into the machine and keep spitting out more. And if you can optimize very, very well, you can try and maintain those costs low as you scale and put more cash into the machine and just see how far it takes you. Marketing is, I think, one of the biggest areas where more automation should and can be used, especially because like you can set up very efficient personalization things and retargeting. You can set up automatic scheduling of all sorts of things, whether it's follow-up emails, whether it's calls and things like that, so that you can save time on actually just working the leads and reaching out to them and doing that. You can set up workflows that balance out the leads between a sales team, for example, right? So that you're not doing that every morning or every week or whatever it is. A lot of people are just used to the processes that they do today. Is this a process that I really need to spend time on, or can I automate it somehow? For the first time, I think we have so much ability to automate. Now, I will say it is quite confusing, but again, you could ask GPT for some help on how to start. And like, that's a great use case and it could save you a bunch of time. If you know the biggest constraint in your business is, let's say, marketing or operations or something, technology will enable you to attack that problem much more violently. So what I mean by that is, let's say right now you produce 3 pieces of content per week. Technology will let you make 14 posts per week instead, because you can train a GPT on your old content, on how you speak. You can make an automation to post things. You can use a scheduling tool. Like, you can do all of these things, which just mean that your 1 hour of input will now create so much more output. That is the power of it. And that's what too many CEOs are sleeping on this. You'd be surprised. Even tech companies sleep on this sometimes. Like, very, very tech savvy people, they don't know how to use all these kinds of tools out there. There are some very, very complicated enterprise level ones, which I think is where you can get really interesting with the kinds of automations you can make, but people don't necessarily use them as much as they could. If there's one thing you need to take away from this as a CEO in 2025, it is to question everything that you spend time on. Like, if you do any task on a weekly basis and it takes you more than an hour, can you get rid of that? Because it'll let you free up your time to work on the most important problem in the business, the the biggest bottleneck that's going to unlock you and move you to the next level. And if you're already working on that full time, technology creates leverage for you, and leverage has never been more accessible. So if you know Naval's 4 C's of leverage, I think it's capital, code, content, and something like labor. Code is now just referring to technology in general. And so you don't need to code specifically anymore in order to use technology to leverage things in your business. You now literally have SaaS, available to you for a couple bucks a month, and you can have that power of leverage in your business for a marginal, tiny cost, and it can give an extraordinarily powerful leverage on your time. Anyway, I hope people really put this to use. I really hope that people put more time into this because they are leaving so much on the table by not doing that. Anyway, those are my thoughts for the time being. I record and post every single day. I reply to as many comments as possible, so feel free to drop any questions in the comments below.